This is the longest that my boat has not been on the roof of a vehicle in about 5 years. It's been sitting here in the mud for about 10 days. And it's been about a week since I've paddled. And it's because I don't have my van. So actually, it's not because I don't have my van. That's why it's been sitting in the mud. I can still transport my boat on my car, but I hate that my boat is sitting out here. Not that it's sitting outside. You can totally store a boat outside. A lot of people will say you can't. It's crazy. My boats have always lived outside, but it's that I don't have access. I can't just hop in the car and go, or hop in the van and go paddling is a killer to me. So this is the first time it has not been freezing raining in about a week. We had a power outage for a day, so it's been tough doing stuff outdoors. So today I want to talk to you about mistakes that people make packing a backpack. Conditions are just not great for paddling, and so we're going to talk a little bit about backpacking season is not that far away. At least for me here in North Carolina, it's about a month out, maybe even less. People will be getting on the Appalachian Trail really anytime now. We're seeing more and more people getting on the trail earlier, and so but March is really the official beginning of the AT season, and these are some things that people do wrong packing their backpack. So unfortunately, we will be back in the office, but first I got to get the water out of here. I got to check on the stand-up paddleboard, and then we'll head in and get this rolling. See, my 16 really needs a cleaning, as does my stand-up paddle boards. And this is the one that needs to be repaired. I damaged the nose on my last sup of the season, so I've got it wrapped up so it doesn't get wet, even though it's got a real hole in it. I don't want the foam up here getting wet, so I hope it's okay. But okay, backpacking. Okay, with backpacking season right around the corner, as I said, I want to talk about mistakes that people make when they pack their backpack. And I'm not going to pack a full pack, but I want you to see a couple of things that people consistently do wrong. There is, of course, the whole issue with people walking into a store, seeing a backpack they like, putting it on off the shelf, and saying, this is the pack for me, and walking out the door. That is a huge mistake. Buying a backpack is like buying shoes. It needs to be fitted for you. Just because it looks good on the wall does not mean it's going to feel good on your back. Backpacks come in all different shapes and sizes, and we come in all different shapes and sizes, and we've got to make sure that those two shapes and sizes fit. Backpacks, full-size backpacks, come in small, medium, large. And so you need to know what size pack fits you. Just because you're 6'2" does not mean you are a large. Most guys are mediums, just like most women are smalls. But you need to get your torso measured with a device that does it. You need to try on a pack with weight in it. I'm going to do a video about pack fitting a little bit later. But for now, with backpacking season right around the corner for a lot of the country, I want to get this sort of out of the way. The mistakes that people make when they're packing an internal frame pack. So I'm going to do a little prep and get a pack loaded, and then we'll talk about those mistakes. Dry bags for paddlers are like carabiners for climbers. You never, ever have enough. So I've got bags of dry bags. Did was I put my sleeping bag into a waterproof compression stuff sack. So mistake number one is not doing that. A lot of people will just stuff their sleeping bag into the very bottom of their pack, which is where it belongs. But that to me just does not feel very safe and secure. I don't care if it's raining all day long, as long as I sleep warm and dry. And a waterproof compression stuff sack like this guarantees that I sleep warm and dry. It also gets, as you can see, my sleeping bag nice and small. This is a 17-degree down bag in a size regular. This is about, volleyball size or a little bit smaller. That is the benefit of a down bag. Synthetic is good, but not this good. I have a synthetic bag as well that I used on my Knowles sailing trip. You can see that up here. In that environment, Knowles required a synthetic bag. I always used synthetic as a kayaker for decades. This is the first down bag I've had, and it's been sensational, but I'm careful with it. I'm careful with my synthetic bags too, but I'm careful with it. But it gets so nice and small. It is awesome. The size of your pack in terms of volume will be dictated by the big three, and one of the big three is sleeping bag. If it's nice and small, your pack can be smaller. So that is a really good first start. So put your sleeping bag in a waterproof compression stuff sack in the bottom of your backpack. Your response might be, but I don't need a waterproof compression stuff sack. I can use a regular, far less expensive regular compression stuff sack that's not waterproof because I use a pack cover. Pack covers I am not a fan of. A lot of people use them. Most people use them, but they don't really make your backpack waterproof. At best, they make it water resistant. It's really only covering 3 of the 4 sides of your backpack. And it is possible for water to still get in there on a really bad day, particularly if you take your pack off and put it down. There are lots of ways for water to get in there. So I don't use a pack cover. I use waterproof bags for the things that I want to keep dry, and this is one of them and the most important. So step 1, put your sleeping bag in a waterproof compression stuff sack. So my only full-size backpack is 48 liters, which is pretty small, and I can do 4 days or so with a 48-liter pack. So this is going to go straight into the bottom of my backpack, right where it belongs. And as you can see, there is a fair amount of room still on either side of it. And we're going to use that space. But first I need to get my sleeping pad in there. Okay. This is my sleeping pad. This is a blow-up pad, a 3-season blow-up pad that is mummy-shaped. I'm going to put this inside my backpack right on top of my sleeping bag. I am not stuffing it down on the sides where I had all that empty space. But what if you have a bigger sleeping pad? This is a sleeping pad cover, but suppose this is what your sleeping pad looks like. You've got a couple options and places you can put this, but I like it up here. This one's really big, under the floating lid, right? Or down here, but the problem with it down here, particularly if it's heavy, down here means on the bottom of the backpack, particularly if it's heavy, is you're shifting, if it's this big, it's pretty heavy, it's shifting weight away from your center of gravity. So really my advice is to not have a sleeping pad this big, unless it's a foam pad, a closed cell foam, a Z-Lite, a switchback, something like that. Then I would just attach it to the back. It doesn't weigh anything. You could go that way too. You could go up there too. They don't weigh anything, I don't worry about it. But a self-inflating pad that's really big should really be replaced. It's too big. It's gonna shift weight in places that you don't want it. Okay, so I've got 2 things in there. I've got one more of the big 3 that I need to deal with, and it's tent. And this is a great illustrator of that problem. So this is a 1-person backpacking tent that weighs 3 pounds, 6 ounces, and it's problematic in terms of packing. People will frequently say, well, how am I going to fit this anywhere in my backpack? And that's when we see people attaching them to the outside of the pack, to the underside of the pack, where it's shifting weight away from your center of gravity. That's a huge mistake. This is the biggest mistake that people make. And so here's how we're going to deal with that. So what I just did was I removed my tent and rainfly from this bag, which is not coming with us. There is no reason to bring that with us backpacking. and I stuffed those two pieces in around my sleeping bag at the very bottom of my pack. And so up to about here, about a third of the pack is filled with sleeping bag, sleeping pad, tent body, tent fly. All of that is creating a nice flat platform where I can put then on top of that my really heavy stuff, my stove, the pot that my stove is in, and my food, right? Water will go in along my back, which is really the heaviest thing we carry, really close to our center of gravity. And so now I don't have anything on the outside of my pack, except I still have to deal with one thing, one part of that tent. The poles from my tent are going to go down the side and into this pocket under the compression straps. That is the only thing on my tent that is going to be outside. Really, that's the only thing that's going to be outside of my backpack. And that's really the way we want it. Things close to our center of gravity, things secured. We don't want things bouncing around. The other thing I want to talk about here, this is not a mistake that people make, but I just don't think a lot of people realize this pocket on the back of your pack is called a shove-it pocket, right? Because it's easy to shove things into, and it's a great place for rain gear and a great place for a first aid kit, and that's what I put in there. And then the brain of the pack, the very top of the pack, is where you're going to put the stuff that you're going to use all day long. That's where my snack food is, my headlamp is, the next map that I'm going to need when I walk off of the current map, my compass, things like that are in there. And so that's really the mistakes that people make when they're packing their backpack, right? The first thing is that they don't compress down their sleeping bag, they just stuff it down to the bottom. The second thing is the placement of their sleeping pad. I have a nice small one, which I put inside my backpack. If it's going to be outside your backpack, it needs to be a Z-Lite or a Switchback, a closed cell foam pad that packs really lightweight. Where they pack their tent is the third thing. I'll give you a bonus thing. The fourth thing that particularly new backpackers do wrong is they overpack clothing. You've got to have a good set of layers, but if you are bringing along 15 liters of clothes for a 4-day trip, you're doing something wrong. When you're done with your first backpacking trip, empty your pack, make 2 piles. A pile of stuff you used, a pile of stuff you didn't use. If it's in the I didn't use it pile, and it's not rain gear or a first aid kit, chances are you don't need to bring it with you. Only bring stuff you know you're going to need. Don't bring stuff you think you might need. Okay, so that's mistakes that we make packing our backpack. I hope you're getting ready for a good backpacking season. Hopefully I will be backpacking this season. Hopefully I will be kayaking soon. Other than that, I'll see you outside.